Nerfed.ai, the Halo on PlayStation reality check. I am Vanessa Calderon, and this week the industry is doing backflips while some studios are just doing a faceplant. We've got massive Xbox leaks, MMO meltdowns, and a certain farm sim that refuses to let us go outside. Joining me to make sense of the chaos is the man who probably already has his next-gen Xbox pre-ordered in his mind, Marcus Shaw.
Guilty as charged, Vanessa. I'm Marcus Shaw, and honestly, my 2026 bingo card is already shredded. We are looking at a future where the Master Chief is officially setting up shop on Sony's lawn, and some major MMO dreams are turning into absolute nightmares. This is Nerfed.ai, and we have a lot to unpack.
Seriously, Marcus, let's start with the Green Team because the rumors are basically a flood at this point. Reports are everywhere that Microsoft is targeting a summer release for Halo on the PS5. Not just a spin-off, but the Chief himself going multi-platform. Marcus, is the console war officially over, or did someone just forget to lock the doors at Redmond?
It feels like the walls are finally coming down, Vanessa. Beyond Halo hitting PlayStation, we're hearing that Gears of War E-Day is aiming for a late 2026 launch. But the real kicker is that the next-gen Xbox is reportedly coming in 2027, sticking with AMD for the silicon. Microsoft is playing a dual game, selling the hardware to the diehards while putting their biggest icons on every screen possible to make up for those Game Pass margins.
I love the casually cool way Microsoft is just like a vibe where they say, yeah, Halo on PS5, no big deal. They are positioning it as a expansion of the brand rather than a surrender of the platform. But you have to wonder what the long-term incentive is for staying in the Xbox ecosystem if the exclusives are gone. If I can play Halo and Gears on a Sony machine, why bother with the 2027 Xbox hardware at all?
That is the million-dollar question, or I suppose the $500 question. Microsoft seems to be betting on the fact that their services and the deep integration of the ecosystem will keep people around, even if the software walls are crumbling. They want to be the platform that is everywhere. And honestly, seeing Master Chief on a DualSense controller is going to be a historic moment for anyone who lived through the early 2000s.
Shifting gears to something a little bit more volatile, the MMO world is literally on fire right now. Ashes of Creation is currently in tatters. The senior team has reportedly quit. Management is issuing layoff warnings, and now Steam is investigating the whole thing. It's a mess, Marcus. How do you go from a Kickstarter darling to a Steam investigation?
Wild. It is the classic MMO curse, but dialed up to 11. When you lose your senior leadership right after a launch period, it is a massive red flag. Fans are demanding refunds, and because of how the Kickstarter and Steam transition was handled, Valve is actually stepping in to see what is going on. It is a tragedy for the backers who have been waiting years for this.
The problem is that the transparency just isn't there anymore. When you have a community that has put millions of dollars into a project, you owe them more than just a vague blog post about restructuring. The Steam investigation suggests that there might be issues with how the financial milestones were reported, which could have legal ramifications for the studio heads in the long run.
Exactly. And it is not the only one struggling. MindsEye had that catastrophic 2025 launch, though the studio is refusing to quit. They just dropped a major post-launch update, and an expansion is coming later this year. But because this industry loves drama, they are also suing a YouTuber named Cyberboy over some leaked footage. Sarcastic applause for the legal team because that always makes gamers love you more.
I mean, it is such a bad look. I meant to say it is a public relations disaster to go after a small creator when your game is already struggling to maintain a player base. The leaked footage allegedly showed bugs that were supposed to be fixed in the day one patch. So instead of addressing the technical debt, they are just trying to silence the evidence. It creates this adversarial relationship with the fans.
Wait, what? I didn't realize the footage actually confirmed the bugs they claimed to have patched. That makes the lawsuit even more desperate. If you are a developer and you're spending more time in the courtroom than the engine, you have already lost the battle.
The community response to the Cyberboy situation has been swift, with a lot of people calling for a total boycott of the upcoming expansion.
On the brighter side of the industry, Ghost of Yotei is absolutely crushing it. It is reportedly selling better than Ghost of Tsushima did at the same point in its life cycle. People were worried about the shift to a new protagonist, but clearly the fans are showing up. It proves that the brand and the quality of the world building are what truly matter to the audience.
Yep. The atmosphere in Yotei is just something else. Moving the timeline forward and focusing on a new character gave the developers a lot of creative freedom that they wouldn't have had if they stayed with Jin. It feels fresh while still maintaining that DNA of the first game. It's a masterclass in how to handle a sequel when your original lead character is so beloved.
Authenticity sells, Marcus. Speaking of showing up, the Nintendo Direct just hit, and while it wasn't the Switch 2 reveal everyone is thirsting for, getting Fallout and Final Fantasy VII on there is a nice consolation prize. Plus, we've got rumors from a Xenoblade voice actor that a new release in that franchise might be closer than we think.
No way! I missed the Xenoblade rumor. If that is true, Nintendo is really packing the twilight years of the Switch with some heavy hitters. It makes sense to keep the momentum going before the hardware transition. Getting the FF7 remake to run on that hardware is also a technical miracle in its own right, even if there are some visual compromises.
Right. It shows that there is still a lot of life in the old tablet yet. And don't forget Civilization 7. The devs are out here doing the rounds, talking about a massive update meant to win back the critics who weren't feeling the initial changes. They are really trying to balance the hardcore strategy roots with the newer systems. It is a tough tightrope to walk, but I respect the hustle.
The New Ages system in Civ 7 was a bit of a shock to the system for longtime players. I think the devs realized that people didn't want the game to feel quite so fragmented. This new update is supposedly smoothing out those transitions so the game feels like a continuous journey again. It's great to see a studio of that size actually listening and pivoting based on community feedback.
If you want to talk about hustle, we have to talk about Concerned Ape. Stardew Valley 1.7 just dropped. We have got new marriage content, a map editor, and children? I haven't even finished my year 3 crops, Marcus. I don't have time for a digital family. But honestly, the map editor is a game changer for the modding community.
Vanessa, you know you're going to spend 40 hours just on the map editor alone. It is the law of Stardew. It is wild to see a game this old still getting updates that feel this significant. It is the total opposite of the launch and abandon culture we're seeing with things like Ashes of Creation. It builds so much goodwill when a developer stays dedicated to a project for over a decade.
Fair. One studio builds a legacy, another builds a legal defense fund. That is the state of play in 2026, folks. From Master Chief taking a vacation on Sony hardware to the farming life taking over our actual lives, it is a weird time to be a gamer. But at least it is never boring. You can find more deep dives on these stories over at Nerfed.ai newscast.com throughout the week.
Never boring indeed. I'll be over here polishing my Spartan armor for the PS5 launch and trying not to get sued by any major corporations. It's been a packed week, and I'm sure next week we'll have even more surprises. For Nerfed.ai, I'm Marcus Shaw.
And I'm Vanessa Calderon. Keep your frames high and your salt levels low. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.